Hi guys, how are you? I see I got Tony and Val in here. Tony, I'm sorry. I know. I tried to warn you guys. Starting tomorrow. Val, what are you happy about? That we made it on a Widget's way. Yesterday, I was at the Riverside Sheriff's Department teaching crime-free housing. And it's really hard for me to do a class there. So I decided to push it to today so that I didn't get any. I don't think that you guys get everything you need to get when I'm at the Sheriff's Department trying to do a quick webinar from lunch, you know? So, and I was a little late. Oh, happy birthday. That's awesome. Okay, I'm letting David in. I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about LA County. And I'm anticipating a smaller meeting since I changed the date. Sorry about that, you guys. I try to be really good about it, but every once in a while I just get one that I can't figure out how to maneuver it. But it was very interesting at Riverside Sheriff's Department yesterday, actually, the police department and their crime-free housing program. I was actually informed that they are trying to cut the budgeting for all of the crime-free housing programs that law enforcement puts on. And for some property managers, that's the only source of education they get. So I don't want to have them cut the funding for the housing programs through the law enforcement. And one of the reasons why I appreciate it and enjoy it so much is when they teach their classes, they teach all kinds of classes. They teach classes on how to deal with active shooters. They teach classes on drugs. They teach classes on gangs. And you'd be shocked how much you learn as a property manager, as a landlord investor, on things to watch out for. And it's only because of those classes that I have all the knowledge I have when it comes to various drug issues, various gang issues. So I find it extremely helpful. I was extremely disappointed when I found out that they are trying to cut funding for the crime-free housing programs that have been in place since the 70s, I want to say. And now they're trying to cut that out. I don't like it. It's one of the ways we can keep informed about new drugs, new drug issues, gang issues in our neighborhoods, what's going on, what the activity is. So if you're not involved with crime-free housing with your local law enforcement, I highly suggest that you do get involved with their crime-free housing program before it disappears entirely. Some of them, like I said, are trying to, sorry, I was all tangled up. Some of them are trying to cut the funding and budgeting for these programs. I utilize these programs. I always have. It's a shame to hear that they're might be going away. I don't agree with that. I'm going to be writing a letter to Riverside City Council asking them to reconsider, please, and not cut that. It's a great way to stay involved with our community for a minimal expense. I'll leave my statement at that. I don't think they should cut the crime-free housing programs. I think they're great. I learn a lot when I'm there. I went into a property once and it was full of empty cans of butane gas. It was everywhere. They had like 30 empty cans of butane gas. And I couldn't figure out what in the hell they were doing with all this butane gas. Come to find out, that's how they make honey oil or concentrated marijuana oil. I didn't know. Is they take a piece of PVC pipe, I don't know if you guys want to know this, and they stuff it full of marijuana, and there's a hole in the bottom where they introduce the butane gas, and it goes up in there, and what drips out of there is concentrated honey oil. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I found a bunch of empty butane gas containers in a residential dwelling. It wasn't because they had plenty of lighters. If they weren't a cigarette smoker, it's because they were probably making honey oil. So I like to learn those things on what to be watching out for, so I'm prepared rather than just oblivious, if you will. So I appreciate the crime-free housing programs because that's where I get my drug education. That's where I get my gang education. They're extremely helpful in educating us on things to be watching out for, things to be looking for. So I find it most beneficial is the law enforcement's crime-free housing programs, their meetings, etc. And it's nice too. You have a direct contact with an officer that you can get in contact if you're having a problem at your community. It makes you go, instead of like this, sorry, I hate this thing. It makes you be like this. So you work together, and I just appreciate it so much more. It makes our job so much easier. And I would hate to see the crime-free housing programs disappearing. They've been in place for a long time and they've been extremely helpful. I don't want them to stop now. Just saying. Okay, hi everybody, we're here. I knew we'd have quite a few less this week just because of the last minute change I had to do. Unfortunately, I apologize. They're gonna happen every once in a while. I try to commit to you guys as much as I can, but every once in a while I'm gonna have to move us. I could tell you we'll have one of those next month where the third week of the month, we're gonna have to postpone our meeting entirely. We're not gonna have a meeting that week. Patty will not be available. And this is not acne, these are mosquito bites, believe it or not. And my knees, ironically, look the same. So they got my cheeks and my knees, damn skeeters. But I had a good time camping. And I hiked 5 miles, which I was actually impressed with myself at altitude. That's impressive. Well, it is for somebody old like me. All right, you guys, so let's talk about what we all want to talk about. And I know today it's going to be a lot about what's ending, what's beginning. Thank you, Victor. I didn't think I was going to make it, let me tell you. It was hot. But I did 5 miles. Yay! And I got eaten by mosquitoes, and yeah, it was quite the adventure. And yes, I got a mosquito bite right under this eye that's itchy. I got a couple right here on my cheeks and then on my knees. I don't know why mosquitoes liked my cheeks and my knees. Not the backs of my legs, not my arms, just right here and my knees. I don't know. And I had one on my forehead because my niece whacked me. Oh, mosquito, you know, she slapped me. Hey, it happens. All right, I know we're going to be talking about what's ending today, what's starting tomorrow. I'm sure you guys are all waiting for me to drop the bomb on you. Here's the reality and the long and the short of it, okay? Remember 3 months ago when the state of California said, we need 90 more days to pay out our landlords. So we're doing an extension of the COVID protections, and it will give additional protections to tenants that have pending applications for the next 90 days so their landlords can't evict them. And then for tenants that don't have any applications pending, they have no protections and you can go ahead and start evicting them. Remember that happened 90 days ago? That ends today. So what does that mean? It means tomorrow, for the most part, and I said most part, our COVID restrictions are lifted in Southern California, with the exception of the city of San Diego. And I know there's another city or two in San Diego that have their own moratorium that will be implemented starting tomorrow. And LA County's nuisance only evictions. You guys remember how we could only evict for nuisance, not non-payment of rent, not unauthorized occupants, not unauthorized pets, not failure to allow entry. You guys remember that LA County moratorium we had 90 days ago? Well, it's still been there. Only we've been riding the coattails of the state law, asking for those 90 days of additional protections and no protections for somebody that didn't have an application pending. That ends today. And we go back to LA County's nuisance only moratorium until the end of this year. So starting tomorrow, you cannot do evictions for non-payment of rent. We go back to tenants self-certifying, God love them, if they've been affected by the pandemic or not, and no evictions for unauthorized occupants, unauthorized pets, failure to allow entry. It's got to be bad in order to get them out in LA, and that starts tomorrow and goes through the end of the year. Everywhere else, for the most part, and mind you, I keep saying for the most part, and I'll explain to you why very quickly. Let's look at Orange County. Orange County should go back to the business as normal starting tomorrow, with the exception of the city of Santa Ana, which now has its own version of rent control. Okay. So there's some cities within counties that have additional protections from tenants. And in the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we all wanted to rip our hair out because all the little municipalities and cities and counties have their own rules and regulations regarding COVID. And what has saved us from having to learn all of these little cities' ins and outs and moratoriums and blah, 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 was the state law, because the state law trumped it. Okay, so the state law was controlling. I'm still letting people in, sorry, you guys. So the state law, if you will, governs us a little more restrictive than a county law or a city law. So the state law controlled. State law leaves today, and all those little moratoriums and municipalities that can come up with their own COVID repayment structures starts tomorrow. So we're going to go back to wanting to rip out our hair, possibly. Here's what I can tell you. LA County is back on lockdown. I don't know a nicer way to explain it. You can evict for a nuisance. And I'll tell you right now, the nuisance has to be bad. And I mean bad. I want to say something, but I don't want to say something because I don't want to offend anyone. But if you're doing an eviction for a nuisance based on seeds that are falling out of a bird feeder, you're probably going to lose. Think about it this way. You're asking a tenant to move out in LA County because their bird feeder is leaking onto someone else's patio. Not strong enough in that municipality to have enough teeth to do an eviction, in my opinion. It's got to be bad. When I say bad, I mean you better have police reports, incident numbers, an arrest made, an injury. Okay? I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this. If you're in LA County and you're currently doing an eviction, don't be surprised if it costs you about $10,000. Yep, I said it. I'm seeing that as being the average price for an eviction that's coming out of LA. And then the landlord goes through all of this and they finally get to settlement, only the tenant doesn't want to vacate. And I wasn't joking when I told you guys, they're no longer filing answers in LA County when they should be filing an answer, which is during the answer period, right? They're waiting for the default to get entered. They're waiting for the writ of possession to be issued by the court. They're waiting for sheriff instructions to be given to the sheriff's department. And once the sheriff posts that 5-day GTFO notice on the tenant's door, then they're starting the fight. Wait, what Patty say? That's what Patty said. They are changing the molecular structure of the way you and I have done evictions our whole lives. Who is they? They are the tenant's attorneys. Instead of fighting us when they're supposed to, they're waiting until the sheriff posts that 5-day notice on the door to GTFO, you know, get the frick out. And then they're filing an emergency ex parte hearing notification. When you go to the ex parte hearing notification, they're filing a motion to set aside the default judgment and let an answer be filed, and they're being granted. What am I trying to tell you guys? You know how we get all excited when it's time for the lockout? We're getting up to the lockout and they're going to post that notice on the door. Stop getting excited there. That's usually when the fight starts. If you're setting yourself up to, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You are only going to get kicked in the teeth. You get what I'm trying to say to you guys? We used to get all excited. We did. Yeah, the lockout's coming. We're going to get them out. Now, in today's society, that's when they're filing an emergency hearing notification, filing a motion to set aside default judgment, and then the court's giving them 5 days to file it. That's when the fight is starting. So take note that that can be a way that we're having to deal with coming about, unfortunately. I fixed it. I fixed it. All right, now I know you guys are going to have a bunch of questions. If you have questions, feel free to ask them, unmute yourselves. Let's talk about it. How often do I see this happening? David, I'm seeing it happening enough that I'm telling you about it. I'm bringing to your attention what's going on. I hope that makes sense to you. It's a lot, David. It's a lot. I would say 50-50 shot, if not higher. And in LA County, I'll tell you there's a 75% chance they're going to file a motion once that notice is posted on the door by the sheriff. No joke. 75% chance. I mean, come on, they're changing the way we've been doing this our whole lives. Uh-oh, I clicked on something. Hold on. I don't know what I did. I fixed it. I'm like, don't click on that again, Patty. I don't know what you touched, but don't do that. Let me see. What do you want me to talk about? San Diego City is in quick fashion becoming the city of the Los Angeles. Wait, what did Patty just say? The city of San Diego is a metropolis, just like the city of Los Angeles, and it is quickly following suit. People tell me, oh no, LA City's crazy. The rest of the county doesn't have anything to do with that. Have you been paying attention to the rest of the county in Los Angeles? Let's talk about the city of Baldwin Park. How about North Hollywood? Ooh, not happy with that? You want me to keep going? Well, we could talk about Pasadena. We could talk about the city of Norwalk. The city of Baldwin Park. It's not just the city of LA anymore, folks. It's spreading outward like wildfire. Off the top of my head, I could give you 20 cities in this county of Los Angeles that has additional protections because of COVID, or their own moratoriums, or their own new rent control ordinances. LA is spreading like wildfire, no joke. It is filtering throughout the county. Now we have issues in San Pedro where there's LARSO is now in the city of San Pedro. I anticipating that getting more convoluted, not less convoluted. Understand? I call LA County the devil's cauldron, because you never know what's brewing there, and you got to be a witch to figure it out. Just saying. So for the most part, Riverside County, Kern County, Inyo County, San Bernardino County, Ventura County, Orange County, with the exception of the city of Santa Ana, all go back to business as normal starting tomorrow. Where we don't see business as normal is the city of San Diego and its additional protections and restrictions regarding COVID and COVID-19 repayment. The county had their own moratorium with no evictions. That has now been lifted, so it's not the entire county of San Diego. And I anticipate that we will see more municipalities within the county of San Diego coming up with COVID protections for tenants that were affected. What did I just say? I got a feeling that we're going to have other cities within the county of San Diego coming up with their own moratoriums regarding COVID rent repayments and things of that nature. but the city of San Diego is following a quick suit to the city of Los Angeles as far as tenant protections, restrictions, rules, regulations, moratoriums, bureaucracy, bullshit, you know, hey, it is what it is. But yeah, city of San Diego is following suit. It's a metropolis. I anticipate that to happen.
So Patty, I have a question.
Okay, let me turn up my volume because it was really low and I barely heard you. Go ahead.
So what happens, let's say if I have a tenant in the city of San Diego who has not paid rent for 2 months?
In the city of San Diego,
Yeah, city of San Diego.
I'd have to read the city's moratorium and see if you can even serve a notice.
Wow, okay.
City of San Diego is following a quick suit to the city of Los Angeles. No joke. And remember, it spreads like wildfire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. I mean, when we look at the city of Los Angeles and we look at surrounding cities, look at all the different ones that have added their own form of rent control and have their own moratoriums. Pasadena, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood. Want me to keep going?
Is
So
it any other thing that I could do to besides rent that I could use?
what do you mean?
Is any other items that I could use on this tenant?
To read their moratorium and see if you can evict for a material breach
Yeah.
or a nuisance or something along those lines.
Yes.
So I'll read their moratorium. I anticipate a lot of changes tomorrow. No joke. Look at it this way. The state law expires today. So until midnight tonight, we are all governed by the state law. Starting tomorrow, it's free reign. So I anticipate seeing more cities, more municipalities throwing at us their COVID repayment terms starting tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't see anything going on in the Inland Empire per se. Don't hold me to that. That could change at any given moment. But in San Bernardino County, I don't see protections for tenants or potential protections for tenants coming about starting tomorrow. San Bernardino County and Riverside County, I don't see any issues. Orange County, the city of Santa Ana has their own form of rent control. Other than that, Orange County should be back to normal. Kern County, Inyo County, and Ventura County, I don't see any restrictions there at all whatsoever. It's going to be interesting. And LA County's back on their nuisance only eviction thing that we were dealing with 4 or 5 months ago. We're back to that in all of LA County. And then in San Diego County, I know the city of San Diego will have additional protections. There's been a lot of talk of it. I know La Mesa tried to do some things that got knocked down. I saw that some of the other cities in the county of San Diego we're talking about doing something, but nothing came about, but definitely something I'll be watching. Please note, I don't watch what may happen. I lose my mind. Okay. I look at Are you guys in here? Do I have all of you back? I don't know what happened. I just disappeared and I think I'm back now. I see you all in here, but I don't know until somebody tells me you guys are here.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yay. Okay. Sorry. Every once in a while I have one of those technicalities, but I'm getting better at fixing them. Thank you for being patient and waiting for me. Okay, so as I was saying, I anticipate to see quite a few more municipalities pull something out of left field in the very near future, like tomorrow and into next week. So let's let that happen before I start reporting to you on what is in place versus what didn't happen. Because if it isn't going to happen, I don't want to try to put that information in my brain. It's hard for me to kick it back out again. All right, now, do we have questions that I can answer for you guys? Help that I can offer you. If you're in LA County, the fat lady sings tonight at midnight. If you don't have a case open and filed, the chances of you getting one going forward are few and far between. You need to have case filed today if you want to do something in LA County. If not, buckle up. I'm along for the ride with you because I got one of mine I can't touch. I will tell you we are seeing a slowdown in the Taft courthouse. I know someone in particular that has properties in Taft, so I just want to let you know we are seeing a slowdown in the Taft courthouse on getting defaults issued. I did get off the phone with their court clerk this morning and told them if they could do anything or I could expedite the process, to please let me know. I'm just giving you a heads up on what I'm seeing so that you're aware. I am watching. If you guys call me and tell me I have a case with your office, can you put it on your list, Patty? I do that. I put it on my list. I watch it. I check on it at least twice a week. And sometimes I call you guys before the attorneys call you guys, just because I see what happened. I know what came in. I know that an answer was filed, whatever's going on, because I'm watching them like I own them. Okay. So I check on them about twice a week. Sometimes I'll text you, give you an update, something like that. It's just another way for me to give you a heads up about what's going on. I like to give you the information before you ask me the question, is what I'm after. But we are seeing a slowdown across the board everywhere. It's not just in Taft. I don't know a nicer way to say this, so just forgive me why I be Patty for a minute. And I'm not Widget right now, okay? Across the board, landlords in general got their teeth back within the last 90 days. And in some cities, they got teeth for just 90 days when they haven't been able to do anything for 2 years. So they had a 90-day window to play in, and that window closes today, okay? In that time period, because so many of us landlords that have been duped by the COVID pandemic got our teeth back, we have inundated our courts. No joke. Inundated our courts. And even a case filing, some courts, we would file a case with them, e-file a case with them, we'd get a case number back same day. Now it's taking 2 to 3 weeks. In the Barstow courthouse, which covers the high desert area, you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks just to get the case number back. No joke. The courts are inundated. Everybody got their teeth back at the same time. So everybody did what they've been wanting to do. And please, can I remind you of one thing? Evictions and small claims are heard in the same courthouse. So even though you didn't file an eviction, you filed small claims, it's still inundating the court. So please keep that in mind. It's not your attorney's fault. And mind you, I work for one. I don't work for all of them, but I'm saying there's a delay across the board. No joke. Okay. It's not your attorney being passive and just being blasé. Oh, it's a slowdown. No, it really is a slowdown. It's no joke. I'm seeing it. I am seeing it. I'm seeing it in case filings. I'm seeing it in getting defaults. That's taking even longer. Case filings are taking longer. The writ of possession has always been an issue because of COVID. I'm not seeing much of a delay there. It's been so badly delayed that I don't see additional delays, I guess is the term I want to use. But we are seeing a slowdown across the board in the courts. I mean, we haven't been able to do anything for 2 years. All of a sudden we got teeth, we're using them. I'm convinced this is why fair housing made homelessness a protected class, because as soon as us landlords got our teeth back, we're gonna bite. It's what we know how to do. We're gonna bite. All right, anybody have a pending court case in LA right now? Anybody? Nobody in here has an open court case in LA County right now? Not one of you. Ah, County of LA, here we go. I want to ask you some questions. City of Gardena. Just so you guys know, I lived in Gardena for about 15 years. I'm very familiar with the area. Tenant provided a 30-day notice to vacate in early May for mid-June vacancy. Tenants then extended vacancy date to the end of June. Now the tenant wants to extend to the end of July, but owner only wants to extend to July 15th. Can owner request for end of July vacancy? What if tenant stays till July 31st anyway? Okay, G. Jones, are you ready? What if the tenant stays until December 31st? Because that's the soonest you would be able to do anything about it if they didn't vacate. LA County is going back on their strict moratorium starting tomorrow. So in the event the tenant wants to vacate, just keep having them extend. Are they paying you the rent? And they're just needing more time until their new house is ready. I'm assuming this is what's going on. They're buying. What do I know? You educate me and I'll spill my guts to you, no joke. I'm gonna assume that your tenant's buying. Ha ha, ha. Everybody paying attention to that? Tenant bought a new house. These are all the things that tip me off that the market's gonna crash. Didn't pay May or June's rent. Shit. Okay, G. Jones, tell me you're a good property manager, and although they didn't pay May or June's rent, you have a 3-day notice on file already that they haven't made a payment on for either May or June. Because if that's the case, you can start eviction today. Did the notice expire already? I'd tell you to go file an eviction today. Today is the last day you can file in LA County. It's up to you. I almost want to tell you, I'd play the game with the tenant, but I'd tell them they have to pay. And if they're trying to buy a house and you're putting an eviction against them, it's going to screw them up from buying, because no lender is going to want to rent them. The tenant closed on the house already. Okay. So they're making payments on that house, but not paying you. So the house closed, but they haven't moved into it yet. They bought a house that's uninhabitable. Okay, so why he's explaining what happened there so I can better answer his question for you. Let me explain something to the rest of you. In my best, most professional opinion, and mind you, I've been through a crash before. Okay, I was in this industry in 2004, 2005, 2006. Okay. What we started to see is tenants were giving us move out notices because they were purchasing. We're seeing that now. How did I know right out of the gate that your tenant was buying? You didn't tell me that. I told you before you told me. How did I know? I'll tell you how I knew. Okay. Tenants right now are buying, not wanting to rent, they're wanting to buy. Does anybody know why? It's cheaper to own a house right now than it is to rent a house right now. Paying attention? It's cheaper to buy a house than it is to rent a house. You know, all of us that have tried to raise the rents as quick as we could, as fast as we could, and get those up to market value just as quickly as possible. It's our fault. Just saying, it's our fault. So tenants are trying to buy so that they could pay less money in rent. Instead, they're making a mortgage for less money. Paying attention? It's all signs of the market crashing. When tenants are pushing to buy rather than to rent, they don't qualify to purchase in the first place. They're not purchasing like you and I purchase a property. They're purchasing on false pretenses. Maybe they're doing stated income, not factual income, things like that. They might be doing an interest-only mortgage where nothing's paid on the principal. Oh, does that sound familiar? Did we do that once before in this country? Oh yeah, we remember when that bit us. I took advantage of that situation. I didn't let it bite me. So I'm just saying all the signs and all the symptoms are there that we are going to have a real estate market crash. Not just the real estate market, the economy in general, okay? Real estate market's gonna follow suit. I'm just saying. So with that being said, if that's what we know that we're preparing for, and we know tenants are right now trying to buy instead of staying in our rental properties because it's less expensive for them in the long run, what they don't understand is they aren't qualified to buy, and they're probably going to lose that house to foreclosure. Not an us problem. I'd play the game with the tenant. If it were me, I would not spend the money and start an eviction in LA County right now. That's me talking to you based on my own professional opinion. And I would play the game with the tenant. I'd leave them in there as long as I could and tell them that they needed to pay the rent, or they were going to, you would have no choice but to pursue legal action against them. I'm not talking about evicting them. I'm talking about suing them in small claims, getting a money judgment against them, and then putting a lien against that house they just bought. I know I'm evil. See, here we go. With the tenant wants to use this rent for that and the deposit. How'd I know? Tenant wants to use June's rent to make mandatory house repairs to the new house. No. Owner has a little left of security deposit. Tenant's been a good tenant. They're not going to pay you a dime. They're going to use their money that they would pay you to fix up that house. I got you. I'm paying attention. And then you're not going to get a penny of it. You're not going to get a penny of the rent either. So if your intention is to help them out, then go ahead and do it. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to scold you for that. Tenant was a former property manager. I'm keeping my mouth shut. I have some of my biggest problems, and I get it. They've been a good tenant. I'm not saying that they weren't. I have some of my biggest personal problems, and I said personal problems, with overzealous property managers. You want to know something funny? They all know more than I do. That's what they tell me. I know more than you. I just smile. Okay, honey. Are you a sales agent? I'm a broker. Do you own investment property? Yes, I do. Yes, bless their little hearts. Sometimes property managers feel the need to tell me how to do my job. I don't take it well. I try really hard. The other problem I have is a sales agent that tells me, well, I'm a licensed real estate sales agent, and I could tell you, and I just smile. And you're right, Val, bless their little hearts. I actually had a real estate, I became a broker just so that I could tell people, well, I'm a broker. I don't practice real estate sales transactions, but I had a gentleman once tell me, I'm the real estate broker. Why are you telling me what to do? Well, I'm sorry, the law firm that you hired to represent you in court sent me here to educate you and your staff. If that's not good enough for my credentials, I'll leave now. So you know what I did? I got up and left. I'm not getting in a pissing match with somebody else over who's smarter, who's more educated. I'm here to try to help you. End of story. If you want to take that as a threat, go right ahead. I'll leave. I don't need you. I'm good. I was just trying to be helpful. Tenant is on Section 8, not sure yet if Section 8 will pay for July's rent. Did Section 8 pay June's rent? Did you serve a 330-day notice? And I said 330-day because that's what's required right now with COVID and Section 8 housing is you give them a 330 notice. If they don't pay in 3 days, they got to be out in 30, and that's the notice you use to evict them successfully on Section 8 during COVID. I almost want to say I'd play the game. I know what an eviction costs in LA County. I don't want to spend the money, and that's why I'm telling you to play the game. But if you're not getting paid, different set of facts. Are you still getting paid from Section 8? Because if you're still getting paid from Section 8, hit the easy button. If you're just not getting their portion, I'd just try to work with the tenant. Yep. Sorry, what can you repeat about Section 8, please? Does the same apply to LARSO? If you have a Section 8 tenant currently that owes rent in the COVID pandemic, we have found it being much more successful instead of serving a straight 3-day notice to serve a 330-day notice, also part of the CARES Act. So we're riding those coattails. Okay. The 330-day notice says that if they don't pay rent in 3 days, they got to move out in 30. And we're using that to evict for Section 8 currently. It's a 330-day for Section 8 tenants. And in RSO, I want to say, nope, I wouldn't touch it. A lot of people think that RSO, or the Rent Stabilization Organization, is only in the city of Los Angeles. I'm here to tell you you're sadly mistaken. LARSO, the Los Angeles Rent Stabilization Organization, now is in various cities of Los Angeles County, including and not limited to Norwalk, San Pedro. They're not just in LA, you guys. It is spreading like cancer. I should say like COVID. Sorry. It was bad. I know. Don't shoot me, okay? I am human. No, my cheeks hurt from smiling now. Huh. Right, same LARSO, Section 8 tenant has not fully completed their recertification with HDICLA, I think it is, but I got you. I know what you're talking about, and may lose their benefits. What to do? You're a sitting duck. I hate to say it, but you're a sitting duck. All you can do is hurry up and wait. If they lose their benefits, then they lose their benefits. You're still governed by the county's moratorium. Buckle up. And then I'm going to tell you guys what I tell everybody. And you're like, wait, Patty, you didn't give me an answer. You just told me to buckle up. It's because there's nothing you can do. Welcome to the government, taking control over our investment properties. I'm pretty sure, I'm convinced that they're trying to force us out of them through foreclosure so they can buy them for pennies on the dollar. But that's just my opinion. And remember that you can always sell with the tenant in place and do a 1031 tax exchange, reinvest in another county that doesn't have such heavy restrictions. Somebody's waiting for me to give them the magic equation to how to deal with this in LA County. And the reality is there isn't one. There isn't one. In the past 90 days, I've watched quite a few evictions come through LA County that wasn't able to evict before. And mind you, I want to say a large portion of them are for non-payment of rent. A large portion, I'd say 80 to 90%. The other ones that I see going on, I keep going back to the bird feeder. Would you spend $10,000 to evict a tenant that had a bird feeder on a balcony of a neighboring resident that was sprinkling bird seed on their unit, and that's a nuisance? Personally, I would use my property management skills to resolve the situation rather than hiring an attorney and paying them to do an eviction. I don't know how this is gonna go. I just know that this landlord is spending a ridiculous amount of money to try to get the tenants out because their bird feeder is sprinkling seed on the balcony below them. We all have problems. Assuming tenant vacates, how much rent can an increase in newly vacant unit in Gardena, LA County? Are we limited to 10% due to the state of emergency? Absolutely. I did have 2 attorneys tell me one thing, and I hope this sticks with you. In the event that the landlord did major renovations, and I'm not just talking about paint and carpet, I'm talking about light fixtures, countertops, new cabinetry, things like that. Not just a blow and go paint and carpet, but upgrades. In the event that the landlord did major renovations and upgrades to the property, then the attorney would be willing to argue that the increase of more than 10% was warranted based on the remodel and modifications to the property the landlord made. You take that for what it's worth. And I hope you guys all heard what I was saying to you. If you do some major renovations and you want to increase the rent more than 10%, ask your attorney first, because they're the ones that are going to represent you in court, not me. But I've heard 2 different attorneys say they would argue in front of a judge in a court of law that they warrant the higher increase based on the upgrades done at the property. Okay. A current tenant that we do not really know, as we took them in from old property management. Okay. We call that an inherited tenant. They want to move to one of our larger homes. We are requiring them to fill out a new application, etc., since we have no info on them. However, they are complaining about mice. Then they keep postponing appointments with our exterminator. Now, it could be the area, or it could be that they are just plain filthy. We are going to send our assistant in there soon to check it out, but we are rethinking of putting them in a fresh house. I understand. I completely and totally understand. Remember, vermin are considered, hold on, let me rephrase that. Vermin, meaning mice, rats, bed bugs. Bed bugs are considered vermin, okay? Are considered a habitability issue in the eyes of the court. So in the event they reported something to you, you want a remedy upon notification always when it has to do with a habitability issue, because they don't owe rent until it's fixed. Now, if they smeared the cabinets with peanut butter and are trying to attract the vermin, you want to document that and use that to your advantage. Understand? Let me see what other. Okay, evictions for non-payment of rent should not be held hostage. Wait, let me read this one more time. I love you, Allie. I know that's you talking. Evictions for non-payment of rent should not be held hostage. I agree with you. We have mortgages to pay and bills that go up and we can't do anything about it. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I think what our government is allowing these tenants to get away with is going to be atrocious, not just right now and what's happening, but somebody's going to have to retrain those tenants on paying the rent every month, because somewhere along the line, they forgot what their responsibilities were. And the government is enabling it. They're allowing it. They're supporting it. They're encouraging it. You call it whatever you want. I see it just as clear as you do. It's bureaucracy and bullshit at its finest. What is a 330-day notice? Do I serve both notices together? It is one notice, and it is called a 3/30-day. And yes, you always send a copy to Section 8. Anytime you serve a Section 8 tenant, you must serve their worker as well. It's a very good business practice. Yes, they will stop payment on their portion in the event that the tenant's not paying you their portion. They could stop it. You never know. I love you too. Not shoring the messenger, not shooting the messenger. I love you. I love you all. Y'all make me smile and laugh. Let me see who's in here. I got Allie. I got Anna. I got Arlene. I got Clifford Chapman in here. Just so you guys know, he finally got his house back. He's a happy camper. David Yearman, Diana, G. Jones. Got all my people here. My thing almost fell over, but that's okay. I saved it. All right. Oh, I see something else came through. I was gawking to see who was in here today. Oh, bless all of you guys. I'm just glad I can help you when you guys have a problem and keep you focused down a path that makes your investment property lucrative and productive rather than costly and time consuming. I'm sorry. I'm at Fast Evict, okay, today. You know, you can't see where I'm at, but I'm at Fast Evict. I'm in an office and I can see who's coming up to the front gate. And there's some very interesting characters outside of our front gate. And I'm just wondering if they're going to open the door and let them in. Maybe I want to run that way instead of that way. Just plain. A lot of people don't realize a full service eviction law firm also most likely does collections. And after you're done with your jerk tenant and you throw them out, I go after their wages. I take the funds that are sitting in their bank account right after the IRS gives them a tax refund. So they show up here pissed off. Go figure. So after you guys are done with them, they become a me problem. I am security here, girl. I'm kidding. What did I say yesterday? I am my own first responder. I think that was my response. I am my own first responder. Law enforcement is my second responder, not my first. And I got something really cool. You guys would all love this. My niece bought this for me and gave it to me. It's carved out of a coin. I don't know if you could see it. Oh, but it's it's the Liberty Bell, and it's all hand carved out of a coin. It's out of a silver dollar. I thought that was really cool. Oh, I'm like, thank you. I like those oddities and weird things. That's me. Somebody asked me yesterday, is there a secret meaning of why you're wearing the Liberty Bell, Patty? We know you and we'll know that you have some little hidden messages sometimes. I said, yeah, liberty and justice for all. That's what I'm after, liberty and justice for all, because the only justice we have right now is just us, okay? And we're not getting what we need from our government. They're working against us, not for us, unfortunately. So we have to band together to think outside of the building. All right. Anybody have specific questions they want to ask of me? And let's see what happens over the next week, you guys. No joke. Over the next week, we'll know exactly what's going to go down. We'll see some coming in tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow, of moratoriums from various cities, counties, municipalities. And I'll try to keep up with it. Hopefully we don't see too much. I don't anticipate any in several counties. I anticipate something else coming out of San Diego though. I will own that all day long. I don't think that one's gonna be easy peasy. An owner's paying $5,000 for a new roof to the HOA for owner's unit portion of the HOA special assessment to fix the roof. All roofs leak in the complex. It's a builder defect. The HOA is very small. Would this be considered a large expense to warrant a higher rent increase? It would be considered a capital improvement. Got that? So this is a capital improvement. I know way too much. I'm sorry. Maybe not a new rent increase. What city is the property in? If it's in Larso, possibly yes. We have to get it approved through Larso. Oh no, Gardena, nope. You ain't going over 10%. Got it? Rent increases 10%, not a dime more. If you go a penny over 10% of a rent increase, just so you guys know, it's considered price gouging, or I'm sorry. If you raise rents over 10%, so 10% plus 1 penny, if you raise rents over 10% hold on, I gotta get my train of thought so I don't say the wrong word again. And I know some of you are laughing at me right now, and I'm okay with that. If you increase rents more than 10% currently during the state of emergency, you could be subject to a $10,000 fine and 6 months in jail, period, end of report. Whatever your reasoning is, there's no case law regarding this price gouging during a state of emergency. And there is a woman that is currently on trial for it and has been on trial for it for 4 years now, trying to get case law on this, okay? There's no case law yet. So don't poke a bear in the eye. Don't do a penny over 10% on a rent increase. Where that becomes more favorable, and what we were speaking of, is when you have a vacant unit and you want to increase the vacant unit more than 10%. If you're doing a lot of remodeling, a lot of upgrades, a lot of capital improvements, maybe you're even redoing the piping, the plumbing, anything along those lines, major renovations, that's when an attorney may argue about you bringing it up to market value rather than only raising it 10%. That's, we were talking earlier about during a vacancy, not with a tenant in possession. Who in Gardena? Who is the rent police in Gardena? It's not the rent police, no joke. If you increase rents over 10%, they could call the police, who I've spoken to several officers. And although California Penal Code 396, subparagraph B states that you can't increase rents more than 10% during a state of emergency, the officers that I spoke to are also homeowners and said that they would just calm the situation down and not do anything about it. Some of the other officers that I spoke to said that they would only write a ticket and not arrest the landlord. So you're asking who the rent police are? Honestly, the rent police are your tenants, because that's who's going to call on you. So if the rent police is the enemy, you may not want to poke at them. Just saying. Hope that makes sense. The rent police, honestly, are your tenants, because they're the ones that are going to turn you in to the rent police. So it's your tenant. And it depends on who they call. Do they call the police? Do they call fair housing? Did they just file a case against you? I mean, it's your tenant. I hate to say it any other way, because the reality is they're the one that have the power to pull the trigger or not. I hope that made sense. Your tenants are the rent police in Gardena. Can we do rent increases of 10% in LA County? Statewide rent control doesn't apply. LA County's moratorium and rent freeze is back on until the end of the year, starting tomorrow. How that reads is, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in LA County, don't increase the rent at all. That's my opinion, and I'll tell you why. If you're in an unincorporated city, you absolutely cannot increase the rent. There is a moratorium in place and a law that says you cannot. So if you do, it's retaliatory. In LA's incorporated cities, you could do a rent increase as long as the tenant wasn't affected by the pandemic. If they were affected by the pandemic, then the rent increase is considered retaliatory. I'm gonna tell you something right now. You tell me one person, just one, that wasn't affected by the pandemic. Give me one, just one. You can't, because an affected is a broad term that could be easily argued by opposing counsel. Paying attention yet? Affected is a very broad term that could be easily argued by a tenant attorney or your attorney, right? It's an adjective, affected. So here's my question. If you can increase rents 10%, okay? And let's just have this real live conversation right now. And you're gonna make an extra $600 by the end of this year by doing that rent increase of 10%. And I'm just throwing a number out there, hoping you're paying attention to what I'm trying to tell you. So if you increase rents by 10%, and by the end of this year, you'll make an additional $600. How much is the retaliatory eviction gonna cost you? Think it's gonna be more than $600? Think the general civil lawsuit against you for retaliatory issues is gonna cost you more than the $600 you made? What I'm trying to put in your head is risk versus reward. There's not enough reward there for me to take the risk. Got it? I hope that sunk. I hope that's what's stuck in there. It's not enough reward for me to take the risk. I mean, let's face it. If I raise the rent right now, $100 a month, there's 6 months left in the year. I'm going to make $600 by December. But if they sue me, I'm going to spend more than $6,000 trying to defend myself. The risk isn't worth the reward. It's not worth it. I know I used an example of a $100 increase, and some of you might be at a $300 increase. So let's play the game. Now you're at $1,800. Huh. Is your retaliatory eviction going to cost more than that? Understand? The risk versus reward isn't there. I wouldn't mind risking it if we were talking about $60,000. Okay, now we're talking my language. If I was going to make $60,000 in the next 6 months, I might consider it. Risk versus reward. Okay. All right. Hope everybody's capturing that. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I mean, you should see some of the frivolous lawsuits that we have to defend landlords from here at the law firm. It's enough to make me squeeze my cheeks and want to cry, because I'm a landlord too. I feel that could have easily happened to me. Right? Error on the side of caution, you guys. You know which cheeks I'm squeezing. They're not up here. They're not up here. You guys are making me laugh. I'm human just like the rest of you. I get pissed off just like the rest of you. I think that's why you guys follow me, is you never know what's gonna come out of my mouth. Sometimes there is no filter. None. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have a great day, a wonderful lunch. I will see you next week. Have a wonderful 4th of July and a happy Independence Day. Please stay safe. Err on the side of caution still, especially if you're in LA County. Things just got a little more restrictive when you thought that they would be free and opening up. Not there. Hang on. We're all supporting you. We're cheering you on. We're holding your hand. And if there's anything that I can do to help assist you, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do so. All right, you guys have a great week. I'll see you Wednesday. Bye. Happy 4th. Bye, everybody. Stay safe.